first thing the guards noticed was the silence. Not the usual, oppressive quiet of a prison at dawn, but something deeper. Something final. In 3 separate cells, 3 men lay still in their bunks, seemingly asleep. But as the morning light crept in, a guard's blood ran cold. The heads on the pillows weren't flesh and blood. They were plaster, paint, and human hair, crafted into grotesque, lifelike masks. And the men they belonged to, they had vanished into thin air. This is the real story of the escape from the Citadel, a true crime mystery that blurs the line between a desperate bid for freedom and a self-inflicted sentence to oblivion. It's a chilling investigation into what happens when the cage you escape is smaller than the one you build for yourself. The motive wasn't money or revenge. It was something far more primal. A psychological weight so heavy it could crush a man's soul. It was the crushing burden of permanent isolation. For Marcus Thorne, Silas Vance, and his brother Elias, life had become a series of identical, gray days inside a stone box. Their sentences were, for all intents and purposes, a slow-motion death penalty. The air they breathed was stale with regret. The future, an endless, unbroken line of concrete and steel. This wasn't just about getting out. It was about a second chance. A desperate, almost religious pursuit of life itself. A belief so powerful that they were willing to risk everything, even that very life, to reclaim. They were driven by the terrifying realization that to remain was to cease to exist, to become nothing more than a number forgotten by time. Their escape was not an act of defiance against the system, but a desperate prayer whispered into the void. A gamble against fate, where the stakes were absolute. A new life or no life at all. The men at the heart of this impossible plan were an unlikely trio, bound by a shared, silent desperation. Marcus Thorne was the architect, the quiet, brilliant planner of the group. Years earlier, a single, catastrophic mistake, a moment of poor judgment, in a high-stakes financial deal had cost others their life savings and him his freedom. He was haunted not by malice, but by the ghost of his own hubris, a brilliant mind left to rot. In the Citadel's library, he didn't just read books, he devoured them, absorbing engineering principles, weather patterns, and oceanography. He was meticulously plotting his redemption, 1 page at a time. Then there were the Vance brothers, Silas and Elias. They were the muscle and the heart, bound by a fierce, protective loyalty forged in a brutal childhood. They moved as one. Silas was the stoic guardian, his silence masking a deep well of pain for the life they'd lost. Elias, younger and more volatile, was the fire, his anger a constant simmer just beneath the surface. They'd ended up here after a botched robbery went tragically wrong, a desperate attempt to escape poverty that only chained them to a worse fate. For them, freedom wasn't an abstract concept. It was a promise they had made to each other, a debt that had to be paid, no matter the price. Together, these 3 Minda, Brain, the Brawn, and the Burnin will believed that even the slimmest chance of freedom was worth any sacrifice. Their prison was a character in this story, a monster of stone and sea, known only as the Citadel. It rose from the Isle of the Shadow Tides, like a jagged black tooth. It was a gothic nightmare, a fortress built not just to hold men, but to break them. Its stone walls were perpetually slick with a cold, greasy mist that rolled in from the ocean, a fog so thick it seemed to swallow sound, light, and hope. The island itself was a desolate rock, battered by relentless waves. The true final wall wasn't the stone, but the ocean, churning, freezing expanse of gray water that stretched to an unforgiving horizon. The currents here were legendarily treacherous, a liquid maze from which nothing and no one ever returned. The Citadel wasn't just a place of incarceration. It was a purgatory, designed to make every inmate feel utterly, cosmically alone, a speck of insignificance against the indifferent power of nature. It was from this very heart of despair that the 3 men planned to carve their way out. The crime itself was an act of extreme patience, a masterpiece of clandestine engineering. It unfolded not in a single, explosive moment, but over a year of stolen seconds and whispered plans. Their tools were crude spoons sharpened on a concrete floor, a drill fashioned from a stolen fan motor, a piece of a discarded nail file. Each night, after the final count, the real work began. Marcus, with his encyclopedic knowledge, directed the excavation. In the dark of their cells, they took turns, chipping away at the concrete wall around the ventilation grates. The sound was masked by the prison's ambient groans and "On so many nights" by Elias playing a borrowed harmonica, its mournful tunes a cover for the scraping that was their only hope. While one dug, the others worked on the raft. They had painstakingly collected over 50 prison-issued raincoats, stitching them together with stolen dental floss, sealing the seams with a paste made from melted chess pieces. They were building an ark of desperation. The most unnerving part of the plan was the decoys. Using a mixture of soap, toilet paper, and concrete dust, they sculpted lifelike dummy heads, painting them with stolen art supplies and adorning them with real hair collected from the barbershop floor. The final act was set for a night when a brutal storm was forecast to hit the isle. As hurricane-force winds and torrential rain battered the citadel, they made their move. Slipping the dummies into their beds, they wriggled through the holes they'd carved, descending into the narrow, dark utility shaft behind their cells. It was a terrifying, vertical crawl into blackness, the roar of the storm above and the promise of the raging sea below. The morning after the storm was eerily calm. The fog had lifted slightly, revealing a bruised, purple sky. It was during the 5 a.m. head count that the shocking discovery was made. The guard looked into Marcus Thorne's cell and saw the still form under the blanket. He called out. No answer. He called again, then walked in and shook the man's shoulder. The head lolled off the pillow and crashed to the floor. It was a dummy. Panic erupted. A lockdown was ordered. In 2 other cells, the same horrifying scene was repeated. The dummies were there, but the men were gone. An immediate, frantic search of the prison began. They found the holes, the dark shaft, and a trail leading to the island's northern shore. There, they found scattered debris. Few scraps of raincoat, a crudely made paddle butt, nothing else. The investigation hit a wall of chilling absence. The island was scoured. The waters were searched by boats and helicopters for weeks, but there was no definitive evidence. No bodies ever washed ashore. No wreckage of a raft was ever found. No confirmed sightings of the men were ever reported. Did they drown in the violent, freezing currents, their desperate raft torn to pieces by the storm? Or did they make it? Did 3 men, against all odds, conquer the unconquerable sea and vanish into a new life? The prison was left with a haunting question, a chilling void where 3 inmates used to be. The mystery was absolute. As the years turned into decades, the story of their escape became a legend, a ghost story whispered in the halls of the citadel. But for the men themselves, if they did survive, the escape was not the end of their sentence, but the beginning of a new one. Their great victory, their miraculous feat of engineering and will, came with a terrible, hidden cost. They had traded a physical cage for a psychological one. Every knock on the door, every police siren in the distance, every stranger who looked at them for a second too long would have sent a jolt of pure terror through their veins. They could never truly be free, because they could never be known. They were condemned to a permanent, silent purgatory, forever looking over their shoulders, living as ghosts among the living. The guilt of their past crimes, compounded by the constant fear of capture, would have been its own kind of prison. The very life they fought so desperately to reclaim was one they could never fully inhabit. Their names, their histories, their very identities had to be buried, sacrificed for a hollow freedom. They may have escaped the stone and steel, but they could never escape themselves. Their great escape may have cost them their lives in the cold, dark water, or condemned them to a life of quiet, unending desperation, separated forever from the world they dreamed of rejoining. In the end, this true crime story leaves us with a profound and unsettling life lesson. The ultimate freedom we can ever achieve is not physical. It is not about breaking down walls or crossing oceans. It is the freedom that comes from a clear and guiltless conscience, the ability to live without the crushing weight of regret and fear. Marcus Thorne and the Vance brothers traded a stone cage for a sea of uncertainty, a life sentence for a life of hiding. Their story is a dark, moral story. A reminder that the prisons we build in our own minds, with our choices, our secrets, and our guilt are often the most inescapable of all. They sought freedom in the vastness of the ocean, but they may have only found a colder, lonelier form of isolation. Justice, in their case, wasn't delivered by a court or a prison guard, but by the relentless, internal consequence of their own actions. Sometimes, one wrong choice can destroy a lifetime. Learn from their story. Choose kindness. Choose life.
This was just the beginning. The most mysterious and shocking crime stories are still ahead. Subscribe to Crime Flow Narratives and be among the first to uncover what comes next.